I would say construction zones are the most dangerous place on the interstate, including cars. I think everybody should slow down. Everybody should really respect the construction area because the road, they'd be uneven. But imagine if you feel a pull in your car, it's like double or triple that in your diesel. So it'll lean over. It'll feel like the truck is flipping.
I'm attorney David Craig, managing partner and one of the founders of Craig, Kelley Faultless. For over 35 years, I've dedicated my career to helping individuals and families who have been seriously injured or lost loved ones in devastating semi-truck, large truck, and other commercial motor vehicle accidents. When tragedy strikes, life can feel chaotic, overwhelming, and uncertain. Many people don't even know where to begin or what questions to ask. That's why I created After the Crash, a podcast designed to empower you with the knowledge and resources you need to navigate these challenging times. In each episode, I sit down with experts, professionals, victims, and others involved in truck wreck cases to give you insight, guidance, and practical advice. Together, we'll help you understand your rights, protect your family, and move forward. This is After the Crash. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of After the Crash, the podcast. I'm attorney David Craig, the host of the podcast, and today we have Akeem Hicks as our guest. And Akeem is a truck driver. So what better person to have on a podcast about truck accidents than a truck driver, a professional truck driver who unfortunately also has been in an accident. So Akeem, welcome to the podcast.
What's going on, everybody? Thank you for having me.
And so Akeem, tell us a little bit about how long you've been driving a truck.
I've been driving professionally for 5 years, over the road. Been in some of the worst storms, high wind, extreme traffic. Been in a lot of situations, so pretty seasoned.
How big an area have you driven? You're over the road. So what kind of areas have you driven in?
I was running team in the beginning with me and my cousin. So we was running from the southeast region to the western region. So we'll go from anywhere from South Carolina to California, Washington State. So we touched a lot of states, majority of them.
A lot of folks out there that are listening to this podcast, they don't know, what it takes to be a professional truck driver. And so they don't realize that you have to have a CDL and that you have to pass a test. Tell us a little bit about that.
All right, so yeah, you have to pass a test in order to. I went to Missouri, Prime Inc., the #1 refrigerated unit in commercial trucking, and we went from there. We did it like 2 weeks for the test, and then you go over it's a 3-part. You do the test, then you go over the road, and then you come back. You have to do the pre-trip. That's the most challenging part right there, that pre-trip.
Well, I know, so then you have to study up on the CDL manual and you take your test and you got to be able to drive. And a lot of folks don't know how challenging it is to drive an 18-wheeler.
It's very challenging.
It's
very challenging. Very challenging.
I took some of our attorneys out to Montana and I thought, here we handle truck cases. So we represent the victims of semi-truck wrecks, but a lot of us had never driven a semi. And so I think you need to go out and drive a semi, work with professional truckers so you can understand a little bit more about what's involved. And, I tell you what, I had a tough time. I'm backing an 18-wheeler. I was trying to back it up. Man, it was tough. I never did get it right.
Man, some of those spots you go to, man, the spots be so tight, you be like, I have to ask people, hey, did anybody get in? And they be like, all the time. And I'm like, okay, I know I can do it. Then you have to, it's like you got to have a crazy confidence out there too.
Yeah. So, how you and I met was that you hired our law firm to represent you in an accident that happened on I-65 with another semi. And this accident was in a construction zone. Tell us a little bit about that. And because I think I see so many accidents in construction zones.
Yes, sir. So I would say construction zones are the most dangerous place on the interstate. And including cars, I think everybody should slow down. Everybody should really respect the construction area because the road, they'll be uneven. It'll cause, and you have it'll sharpen the curve so the cars will pull. So imagine if you feel a pull in your car, it's like double or triple that in your diesel. So it'll lean over. It'll feel like the truck is flipping. I think that even the professional drivers, I think we all need to respect the construction areas more. And that's how it happened with my accident. It's just not respecting the construction areas.
Yeah. In this case, it was another semi. You're on the left passing, and another semi hits a construction zone vehicle, right? And then
That's
hits,
correct.
it comes over and hits you and knocks you off the road.
And it happened so fast. So I was traveling about 65, 66 maybe. And all I heard was the sound, like boom. And then he had done jumped in my lane. There was nothing I could do. So once he hit the truck, I'm pretty heavy at the time. I'm probably like probably got like 30,000 behind me. So I'm probably like 50,000 pounds total. And he just, I mean, it jumped my truck right. I had to fight it. I'm grabbing the wheel, and we went into the median, and it popped three lines, but one line stopped the diesel truck. And man, by the grace of God. So in Florence, where I'm from, in the South Carolina area, they have only three lines. So in the Columbus, Indiana area, they have four lines, and I think that everybody should have four lines for their
Some
safety.
areas. So, folks, if you're listening, those are the steel lines that are in the median to stop traffic from going through and coming up on the other side where you have a head-on collision. And I've been doing this for 38 years, and we used to have a lot more of the country that had no lines or barriers to keep you from going across. And I unfortunately had represented people who got hit head on from somebody who lost control and crosses through the median. But where Keene was, they had four lines, and what he's saying is three of them break, but one of them kept him from going into on the oncoming traffic, which could have been catastrophic, could have been a lot worse than what you had.
Yes, sir. Because there was a diesel truck and a car coming on the other side, so I was headed straight for him.
Yeah, that's scary. So, and we
Yeah,
talked
yeah.
about that. Construction zones are, I mean, I see those all too often. And unfortunately, a lot of wrecks I've seen where people are actually killed, like when construction zones, traffic starts to back up. And it slows up, kind of funneling into maybe they shut off one lane and you're kind of funneling down and traffic starts to back up. And I've had way too many semis. I had one down in Kentucky where the semi driver had his truck on cruise control, and he's just going on down the road, and then all of a sudden traffic is backed up, and he doesn't stop, and he kills seven people. And
Oh,
but I see that all the time where if on the highways, you're traveling along and you're just keeping pace, but then all of a sudden traffic stops for some reason or slowed up, then a lot of time you have wrecks behind that slow up. So tell us a little bit about so when you're in a semi, so let's say construction zone. So what you're saying is slow down, number one.
slow down
Number
for sure.
two, you've got to make sure that you're aware of what's going on around you. So tell me, you got blind spots in those trucks, right?
Yes, sir. On the right side, you really can't see. You have to use the front mirror. I try to use all my mirrors on my blind spot. So on the right side, if I'm getting over to the left and I have to get back over to the right, I would look at the front of the truck. This is at the very front is the mirror that you can see is the mirror at your passenger door that's looking down, and there is a small mirror down at the bottom of your to your right. So I would look up, make sure I check all three. I make sure I don't run over anybody. I don't want to hurt anybody. Like I want everybody to go home safe.
Yeah. And also when I was out in Montana and I was riding along with some professional truckers, I was shocked about how many cars cut in front of you. The truck driver I was riding with would leave distance, leave room between
Right.
his truck and the vehicle in front of him. And every time he did that, it seemed like a car would zip in there.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And the worst time I think that cars don't understand is like if I'm climbing up a hill, you gonna see me going real slow. So you know you don't think that when I get to the top of that hill and I come down, it's gonna speed up. It's gonna speed up real fast. So a lot of cars they tend to try to pass another car and get out of the way of the car coming behind them. So they'll jump in front of the diesel truck that's going downhill, and then you have to add. So it'll burn your brakes up. So you have to use your Jake and stab your brakes. And I don't think people understand how dangerous that situation right there is.
Yeah. I think that, one of the things we do, I've actually even put out a video on blind spots and on distance, how, stopping distances, because I don't think people realize how much distance it takes to stop an 18 wheeler. They're used to their cars. They're used to being able to stop and in a diesel, you got a whole different type of brake system. And
Yes,
so
sir.
there's a little bit of a lag time.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. A lot, a lot. And when you're talking about stopping it just on a regular road, we're talking about maybe a football field too, or something like that. So if you're going downhill, that just triple.
Yeah. So what's the hardest thing about being a professional truck driver?
The hardest thing I would say is not being distracted, because it's full of distractions. You're gonna have it. You gotta follow your GPS. Your phone gonna go off. You got people gonna flick you the finger. Like, it's just a lot of distractions, and you have to stay level headed and try to stay off your phone as much as possible. I would think that would be the hardest thing.
Being on the road, that's a tough. That would be tough not to be distracted or be tired. I mean, some people talk about. I just interviewed somebody. She was going to have to drive 2 hours back and forth, and that seems like a long time. It's like, okay, driving 2 hours, paying attention, being alert. But you guys drive longer than that.
Yeah, 10 hours in a day. I was doing like 9 to 11 hours, and sometimes like when you go to a shipper and they're behind, you'll be up 14 hours, right? So, and they have to turn around and do it again. So that tiredness turns into fatigue if you're not managing your sleep properly.
Yeah, that's got to be tough. One other thing I've heard that it's tough about trucking today is finding places to pull off and park because those long hours days you can pull off and you get a break. Tell me,
Yeah.
running into that, you run into problems of finding places to park.
Yes, sir. You like yes, sir. So you would try to so as trucking, how I would try to do, I try to get as close to my destination as possible. And now sometimes that stuff can backfire on you because you'll get to your spot close to it and then you run into a traffic jam. And there's nowhere to pull over. And you have to go 10 more miles just to get to an exit where you can pull over. Then you have to find the exit where there's enough shoulder room so you can be off the road and not be a hazard to others. So it's most definitely can be challenging, especially in those like busy city areas, New Jersey that don't really have shoulders, California, things like that sort from the east to the on West Coast.
And some states worse than others?
Oh yeah, yes sir, yes sir. Like California, New Jersey, uh, Atlanta, Georgia, stuff like that is crazy out there. So when you get in like South Carolina, North Carolina, it's real country, so you can pull off the road in those country states. Yeah, those are the best states to travel where you can manage your clock better.
So what's about bad weather, like winter? So the Federal Motor Carrier Safety Regulations say, if your visibility is affected or your traction is affected, you're supposed to use extreme caution. And the CDL manual says decrease your speed by a third if you're on wet pavement and 50% if you're driving on packed snow. And if you got ice, you need to get off, as soon as you can. I would
Yes, sir.
imagine, though, you guys got pressures to get from one place to the next place. You got to deliver your load.
That's
And so
correct.
what kind of challenges have you faced with bad adverse weather?
I think I went through Oklahoma. It was a blizzard. It was a winter storm in Oklahoma. I mean, it was so much snow you couldn't even see the line. You couldn't see, like you had to stay in one lane. And I don't like stopping because I feel like if we could just go slow and steady, we can get through it. You know what I mean? But if it's the ice, then of course you have to pull over. But the worst situation I ever been in was in Nebraska on I-80. It was a blizzard in like January, snow and ice. It's snow. blowing from one side of the street all the way to the other side of the interstate. Just slow and steady though, man. Just slow and steady. A lot of people pass me in those moments where I kind of like I felt like I was the tortoise, and I was like, man, I kind of need to speed up. But you get an hour down the street, and then they jackknife or they turned over, you know. So man, just take your time, people. If you anybody in a rush, just slow down, let them go ahead. It's a good chance you pass them.
And one of the things I've seen over the years is it seems like I've seen more aggressive drivers, both in cars and in trucks,
Yes, sir.
where people are just more aggressive. They're flipping people off. They're tail, they're riding people's bumpers. They're zipping in front of them. They're brake checking them. I mean,
Right.
have you not have you
Right. Yes, sir. That happened a lot in New Mexico. Once you get over to like the New Mexico area, they get real aggressive.
that right?
Yeah, very aggressive. They're probably some of the most. They'll get right there, trucks, diesel trucks, to get on the bumper of other diesel trucks and force them to get over and out the left lane into the right lane. And it just seemed like everybody in the rush is just like it because everything is more right now, right now America. So it's like everybody trying to get to where they need to be fast. They're not caring about their lives or the next person's lives or the weather condition. And I think we just need to take a step back and slow down, man.
So, do you see truckers as so these? I mean, do you ever see aggressive truckers that just kind of like they think they know more than everybody else on the road and that they own the road, or is that just something that I imagine?
No, sir. We call those super truckers. And, and a lot of times, you call the OG truckers, and they've been out here 30 and 40 years, but hey, you can be humble. Mother Nature will humble you.
So there's a lot of stuff going on in the trucking world. I mean, one of the things I've seen here recently is they're trying to start paying truckers overtime. I didn't, a lot of people probably don't realize truckers don't get necessarily get paid by the hour. They get, all the rest. Most people, if they work over 40 hours, they get time and a half.
Mhm.
They get double time on holidays and weekends. You guys don't get overtime or double time. You guys are exempt from that. What do you think about laws that might change that? Is that good or
Um,
bad?
I think it'd be great because there are some people that drive by the hour, and a lot of times there's stuff that they drive by the mile. So if the truck is sitting and they're sitting there at the shipper for 3 hours, they didn't get any pay because they didn't move, but they was up for 14 hours that day.
Mhm.
So I think it's a lot of ways we can make things better. And overtime, yeah, sir, I agree with that. I agree with that.
I mean, some of the things that seem like to me, you start paying people overtime, paying for the time they sit, then that would help. Also, giving them places to park. If throughout the country they gotta figure out how to let people park safe, uh,
Right,
so you're not parked on the side of the road where it might be dangerous, or you park. I mean, I've seen truckers get their shipments robbed, because they park in bad areas because they're
right.
forced to. So I think increase parking for truckers would be helpful. What about the new technology? Down in Arizona and Texas, they're running trucks now without you drivers. They're running
Wow.
autonomous trucking. Now, most of them have a driver in the cab,
Right.
but now they're actually testing them with just driverless trucks with just purely computers. And what do you think about that as a trucker?
As a trucker, I think there's a lot of situations where you would need an actual person there to, because like say for instance, right, Dave, I'm riding through the snow and I'm using my cruise control. But if enough snow collects in the front of that diesel truck, it'll cut that sensor off. So is there anything like that type of thing we would be dealing with a sensor maybe cut off and now the truck malfunction and potentially kill 7 families or something like that? So I think that's some trial and error, and I just hope it's less error.
Yeah, I mean, I think one of the things is obviously you guys are professional truck drivers. You have to go through, you get trained, you get tested, and then you get experience by getting on the road. And there's so many times when, I've represented truckers before. They say, they'll be driving along and it's that quarter, it's getting cold, but you don't know if there's any ice. You don't see, it doesn't look like it's ice on the road yet, but they'll watch their mirrors and they'll look at their mirrors and they'll see icicles starting to form on the mirrors. So they realize, okay, hey, it's getting that temperature's getting cold enough. I better slow up a little bit. You
Yes,
know,
sir.
well, a computer, how's a computer going to know that when it goes from ice to, from wet pavement to ice all of a
Mhm.
sudden? And you guys make judgment calls all the time on, okay, how slow do I need to be going? Whereas a computer generated truck, is it going to make those right decisions? And then what if a truck breaks down? When a truck breaks down, you know that you have to get out and put your flares or your triangles out,
Mhm.
but
Mhm.
there ain't nobody in a truck, a
Yeah, right.
driverless truck.
All
How's
right.
that? How's that going to happen?
So just to piggyback off that real quick, right? I come up with some survival tactics, right? Because when you out there, you got yourself and you talking to yourself a lot. So when it's like when it get to like 16 degrees or 19 degrees, anything up under 20, I would look over at the grass, see if I can see any grass. If I can see any grass, then that let me know the snow is kind of old. But if I can't see any grass poking out, that let me know it's fresh snow. And as I'm going down the street, I check my rearview mirror to see if there's any mist coming off my tires. That lets me know that the road is not icy. And so this is the most important thing, David. Looking across the street, the people there coming from where I'm going. So if those people across the street are driving real slow, then that let me know I need to slow down because it must be ice where they're coming from, and that's where I'm going. So I would slow down. So like you said, like how would a diesel truck that don't have a professional in the cab with survival tactics, you know what I mean? Like how do they go about that? Do they just keep going fast, the same speed, and hit the ice and start sliding at 68 miles per hour or something? That's catastrophic right there,
Yeah.
man.
Well, I think they got a lot of work to do before they can do that. One of the things I see is speed limiters. Up in Canada, truckers have speed limiters, so trucks can't go over a certain speed. Here in the
Mhm.
States, there's some trucking companies now that are already running trucks that have speed limiters that limit the speed. And I know with respect to truckers that there's opinions on both sides. Some like it and don't mind it. Others think it's terrible and it's dangerous. What do you think?
Um,
Your
if I'm a
speed.
business owner, yeah, I probably would like it, but after the kinks get worked out, because I don't right now, I just don't believe in it enough right now. I just think it's more of a hazard until they can assure the people that these type of things won't happen because of this. Then I'll probably be more for it. But right now, I'm gonna lean more towards not being for it.
So rather than a truck having have a speed limiter that says you can only go 65 or 70 miles an hour, so the trucking companies they like it because or some of the trucking companies like it because it saves gas, saves money on gas.
Hmm.
But and some truckers I've talked to say, well, no, I know I should be able to pass. If I'm in traffic, I need to accelerate, and I don't want a truck that I can't. I can't accelerate. But other truckers will look at it and say, you know what? Another thing is they say it will cause traffic jams because if everybody's running 65 miles an hour, then all your trucks are going to be blocking traffic because none of the cars are going speed limit. Cars are just flying by.
So that's why you have to plan your pass. If you're going 65 miles per hour, you don't just try to jump in front of because all right. So if somebody is in front of me and they're going 64 and I'm going 65. I'm not going to really be in a rush to pass them because it's not going to make my arrival to my destination, so significant that I have to get past them. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
Then after a while, I have to pull over, use the bathroom. So that's why I think like you have to plan your passing. Anytime there's no cars around, then you can go around that truck that's going 64 because it's going to take maybe 5 minutes to get around them.
One of the other things, emergency braking. So my SUV, if I come up on something and
Mhm.
I'm distracted, I'm looking out the side window, my truck will just brake automatically
Yes,
to
sir.
keep me from rear end. Now that technology, they got some of that on some of the newer tractors.
Mhm.
That technology. Have you ever driven a truck with that with the emergency
Yes,
braking?
sir.
So
Yes,
how
sir.
what do you think about that?
I like it because in times stuff can happen so fast in real time. So I love it because if you got the cruise and say you got enough safe distance, safe travel distance, and the car ahead of you hits the brake to go off on the exit, but you're not looking, you just grab your phone right quick, try to get your GPS right or something, and you're looking down, it's gonna go ahead and hit that brake for you so you can go ahead and get aware. Whereas then if you didn't have any awareness and you just ran into the back of that car. So
Yeah.
I love that. I love that. It's very safe.
So for people that are out on the roadway that don't know what it's like to be in a semi, what advice do you give them? How should cars drive safer around semis? What can they do? What can car drivers do to help ensure that they get where they're going and the truckers get to where they're going safely?
So anytime that a diesel truck is making a right turn, they'll be in the left lane for a little while. As a car, we need to give them enough time to signal and get over in the right lane. That's one. Another thing I would say is going downhill. Try not to jump in front of a diesel truck unless you have enough space. If you coming up on a diesel truck and you need to pass them, try to pass them going in the left lane where they can see you better. They have more visibility. Okay, and another thing I think is very important. So for a diesel truck, if I'm coming down the road and I'm in the right lane and it's a car off to the side of the road and they have their flashers blinking, we try to get over into the left lane as a diesel truck, as a professional driver, and allows the people on the shoulder. They might be changing a tire or anything. That diesel, when it come past you, like, whoo, that wind have everything rocking. So we try to jump over in the left lane, and a lot of times cars don't understand that we just trying to get over for the safety of the people that's on the side of the road, and we're gonna jump right back over into the right lane so you can speed on by. As a car, I think you should just give people more time, the truck drivers more time, that just get over, and so everybody can be safe.
Anything else you want to add, or any questions you have for me?
Now, I don't have anything I want to add. Okay, look, I got another thing, right? If you have two diesel trucks driving side by side each other, they're pretty much going the same speed. I think the person in the right lane should just go ahead and hit the brakes and allow them to go ahead and get over. And I think I seen a lot of road rage happen from this, a lot of traffic jams, and I just think if just one person just allow the other person to go, free up the lane, it it's a dance. You want to keep the rhythm flowing.
Well, and I'll add to that. I'll kind of jump on that because I've seen cars get in situations where there's road rage between a car and a semi tractor trailer. Now, and that's not a good situation.
No,
Car, you ain't going to win.
nah,
And so
you just run the road.
that's just dumb. And so, and I don't care what the trucker did. I don't care if the trucker cut you off. I don't care if the truck did whatever it is. It's not worth dying for, you know. And so, just kind of whether you're in a truck or whether you're in a car, don't get on road rage. But I'm seeing a lot more of that, and I've seen truckers. I mean, I've seen them chase down cars, go through a median, and go after a car to hit them, and actually hit them. But it was all these people were battling along the highway, flipping each other off, brake checking, doing all this kind of stuff. And I'm just telling you, if you're in a car and you shouldn't. First of all, if you got that much rage, you shouldn't be driving. But regardless, don't ever do that with an 18 wheeler.
No,
You know, that's not smart.
it's not smart at all, man.
So how was my
Not
law
smart.
firm? My law firm represented you in your injury case. Did we do a good job?
Man, you did a great job. Excellent. Like terrific. I love everybody that I came in contact with. Like everybody took good care of me. Like y'all was very thorough with what to expect. So it calmed down my nerves a lot because I never been through the mediation and deposition and things of that sort. You signed a book to let me, to walk me through this stuff before we even got there. I looked up some of your after the crash, so I'm honored to be on the podcast right now, man.
Yeah.
I'm honored, man.
Well, I appreciate the fact because I think I really like to have a trucker's perspective, a client's perspective, kind of because for people who've not ever been through this, they really don't know what to expect,
Yeah.
and you have been through it, And you're, if you survived a deposition, you survived the mediation, and you got your case done, you just follow the instructions along. And I know Carissa worked with you, and she loves you. She thinks you're wonderful. And
I love Clarissa.
BJ Kelley
I
worked.
call her Rissa.
BJ Kelley worked with you, and he says you're fantastic. And so I appreciate you picking us, and I appreciate you being a guest on our podcast after the crash.
Man, thank you for having me, David.
This is David Craig, and you've been listening to After the Crash. If you'd like more information about me or my law firm, please go to our website, ckflaw.com. Or if you'd like to talk to me, you can call 1-800-ASK-DAVID. If you would like a guide on what to do after a truck wreck, then pick up my book, Semi-Truck Wreck, a guide for victims and their families, which is available on Amazon, or you can download it for free on our website, ckflaw.com.